Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, and in this video I'm going to teach you how to perform a simple Monte Carlo analysis in Microsoft Excel. As the great Muhammad Ali said, life is a gamble. Our daily lives have so much uncertainty in them, more so in our lines of work, which involves projections and forecasts to help us make decisions. One tool that can help is called Monte Carlo Simulation. This method, aptly named from the world-famous casino in Monaco, can help us generate thousands of scenarios within only a matter of seconds. Monte Carlo is actually a type of scenario analysis, but instead of taking predetermined combinations of inputs, we're going to use the standard deviation in order to generate as many random combinations as we need. This is great because in real life we can't really control most of the factors around us. To better illustrate this, let's say we're computing the weekly profit for a certain company. To keep things simple, let's only use three variables, namely revenue, fixed costs, and variable costs. Also, let's assume that we already have the mean and the standard deviation for these variables. The mean, of course, being the average, and the standard deviation measuring how spread out the values can be. The higher the standard deviation, the more volatile the variable is. Our goal for this analysis is to generate 1,000 scenarios for the profit by taking the mean and the standard deviation to get random input values for each scenario. Let's start off by computing the first scenario, which we can call our base trial. To do this, we'll be using a function called NORM.INV. So we won't be discussing this in depth, but I'll be linking some materials in the description. The first argument is called the probability, and the acceptable values are between 0 and 1. A probability of 0.1 means we're only interested in the bottom 10% value. But we don't want that. We want the results to be completely random. So for that, we'll use the rand function, which generates a number between 0 and 1. Next, we're going to input the mean or the average. And finally, we're going to input the standard deviation. There we have it. We were able to simulate a value for revenue. To do this for the other variables, we simply drag it along the cells like this. Finally, let's compute for our profit by taking our revenue and subtracting the fixed cost and the variable cost. Here comes the part we've been waiting for, which is the Monte Carlo simulation itself. To do this, let's set up two columns, namely the trials and the profit column. Let's say we want to have 1,000 trials for this exercise. So I'm just gonna go ahead and make 1,000 rows in our table. Next, on the first row, we link the profit that we computed a while ago. Finally, let's highlight everything. Let's go to Data, select What If Analysis, and go to Data Table. We're just going to leave the row input cell blank, and for the column input cell, let's select any empty cell and click OK. As you can see, Excel simulated 1,000 values for our profit by automatically repeating what we did for the base trial. Using these values, we can compute for some statistics to help us summarize what's going on. But before anything else, observe that the values change every time I do something on the sheet. For example, I type a letter here, press enter. You can notice that the values on the base trial and our Monte Carlo table changed. To prevent this from happening, I'm just going to highlight our profit values and paste them on this column by using Ctrl Alt V. Press V again to select values and click OK. This way, we can avoid the values changing every time we do something on the sheet. Actually, feel free to hide this one so it doesn't confuse us. And I'm going to put the label profit here. Now let's go on and compute some summary measures for our table. First thing I want to do is compute the mean. You can do this using the average function. Highlight everything. So we already have the mean. Next would be the standard deviation. I'm going to use stdevs for this. Let's also get the minimum and maximum values in our table. We can see that on average, our profit will be positive, but there seems to be a lot of volatility judging from the standard deviation and the minimum and the maximum values. So it can go as low as 43,000 and as high as 107,000. But what else can we do to help us evaluate this data? We can actually compute for the risk of loss by counting the percentage of times the Monte Carlo generated a negative value. For that, I'm going to use a function called COUNTIF. So what we're going to do is to try to count the number of times it turned out a negative value. For that, I'm going to highlight the range. And then our criteria should be less than 0. And to make it a percentage value, I'm going to divide it by the number of data points, which is 1000. And let's convert this into a percentage. So there we have it. We got a value of 7.5%, meaning there's a 7.5% chance that you will generate a loss instead of a profit. If you're a decision maker and 7.5 is unacceptable for you, you have to find ways to either increase your revenues, reduce your costs, or make your figures less volatile somehow. In summary, Monte Carlo Simulation through Excel is a criminally underrated tool you can use in forecasting stock prices, quality control, gambling of course if you want to. The possibilities are endless. I hope you find this vid useful and see you next time.